Hey guys, welcome back to another exciting episode of YOML. This is the Year of Magical Learning podcast. Today, we actually want to pick up another new book. I think it's a two-part series. Yes, two-part series. This is
Yep.
part one of two. We want to borrow something from one of the great shoemakers. So let's see what we got.
Yeah, it's the book's called Shoe Dog, a memoir by Phil Knight, the creator of Nike, Phil Knight. So obviously you all know what Nike is. It's got swoosh on my hat right here. There you
Swoosh.
go. This is hands down the best memoir that I've read on this entire journey, I think, by far. Like this guy is just so good at storytelling. I think it's the reason why Nike has become Nike. He is just incredible at storytelling. And the story of his life was really incredible. He did an amazing job of explaining how they went from selling shoes out of the back of his car to having a $30 billion company or whatever the hell it is now. Some massive corporate global monstrosity that was originally just an importer of Japanese shoes that he sold out of the back of his car. And he started with $50 back in the 1960s or something like that. So it was an incredible story, honestly. The story is unreal, and Phil Knight is an unreal storyteller. I mean, there's a section of the book, the last chapter, called Knight, like spelled Night. It was the summary of his life up to where he is right now today. I think he's in his mid 80s now. And that chapter was mesmerizing. You could just read that on a loop for the rest of your life. And it's the best advice you could ever get from anybody. It was a really, really, really good memoir. I was actually a little skeptical on this one because I've heard from a few people like, oh man, you got to read Shoe Dog. And I was like, oh, fuck, not another Yvonne Chouinard. Like, you got to let my people go surfing. And I was like, no, God, like this was not like that. This was like a story. This was like a beautifully told story about camaraderie and struggles and challenges and triumphs and failures, and just an awesome story. So yeah, I would highly recommend this book. That's why we did a two-part reflection on it. Do you have any desire to want to check this one out after my description?
Yeah, of course. I mean, it's gonna be in my entire library.
Yeah,
So I mean,
love it.
there's so many books. It's on there. It's which is very exciting in a way.
Yeah,
When we
yeah,
have
of
so many
course.
books, hey, this book, I think it was something here that interests you, right? And this book over here has some different things and whatever. So basically, it's like, hey, I'm gonna take out some of these books as I finish something, and I need to, get a fresh source of fresh eyes of some perspective. It's just
Yeah,
take another book out and start, absorbing it.
love it. No, excited to talk to you about this one because it was so good. Actually, this reflection is kind of about you a little bit in some ways. So the reflection title is of this is see that bamboo tree in 1 year it'll be 1 foot taller. What this means to me is, you know, Phil Knight had, by the way, one of the funniest things ever. His management team, when they were like growing from a tiny little company to, they started to become like a legitimate kind of smaller company, maybe a couple hundred
Mm-hmm.
employees. They would have this, they called them, they're like executive leadership team. They called themselves the butt faces. So they would have like the annual butt face meeting or whatever, where all the executives would get together and they would like, this company was like fun. It sounded fun. It sounded like, working at Atari or something like that back in the day, or like, Steve Jobs and Steve Wozniak or whatever working out of a garage or something like that. It was just a really fun group of people. And one of those people so as the story goes, I was telling you, Phil Knight started this whole entire thing with this company. He sold Tiger shoes, which, have you ever heard Tiger shoes before?
No.
They were a Japanese. Did you ever seen the Air Cortezes, the Nike Air Cortezes? You know what I'm talking about?
Mm-mm.
I used to rock these shoes all the time. I have a couple pairs, so I love these shoes. They were the original running shoes. They made like the waffle sole. You ever seen these before? No.
I don't. And so,
No.
yeah.
This was like the running shoe that made them famous.
Okay.
And these were Tiger shoes was where they started importing shoes from Japan.
Right.
So that was when Phil Knight went over to Japan and he convinced them that he was like, this is back before they had internet and stuff like that. He went over there and said, I'm Blue Ribbon Shoes. I want to be your number one importer of Japanese shoes in the United States. And they were like, oh, this guy seems legit. And they gave him like the exclusive contract rights to the United States or whatever to sell Blue Ribbon shoes, to sell Tiger shoes. So that was how he started this whole entire thing. And then he would import a bunch over from Japan, and then he would sell them out of his trunk. And then he ended up meeting some people on the way. Phil, just so you know, was like big into track and field, like already. He ran at University of Oregon, and his coach, Bill Bowerman, was a legendary coach. Oregon track and field is like the pinnacle of track and field and athletics. And the guy that made it that was this guy named Bill Bowerman, who was his coach. So Bill Bowerman and Phil teamed up together because Bill Bowerman used to tinker with shoes and build his own shoes and stuff like that. And he ended up taking a waffle iron, and that was how he made the first original sole that looked like a waffle iron sole that they put on in their own shoe and patented it that way. And then it became like this big improvement in technology, and people started wearing Nikes, and then Nike became more and more innovative, and Bowerman was always the guy that was helping to innovate and design the shoes and stuff like that. Anyway, as Phil Knight gets deeper and deeper and from Blue Ribbon Shoes and their relationship with Tiger Shoes gets greedy eventually along the way, and they were like, you know what, we're going to split the country in half. We're going to give half to some East Coast distributor and half to you, Phil. And then slowly but surely they like pitted these two guys against them, and then Phil got pissed, and he was like, I'm not going to do this anymore. He's like, either, you know, I can't remember the exact scenario, but he was like, either give me all this or I'm going to go do my own thing. And that was when they started making their own shoes and started importing shoes from this massive distributing company in Japan called Nisho. So Nisho was like their main partner of Nike for forever, until Nike eventually decided to go build their own shoes. They decided to do that in the 90s or something like that. But for like decades, this Japanese trading company called Nisho was his number one business partner. One day he was at his business partner's CEO's house, and he was talking about all the struggles that Blue Ribbon was going through, and now Nike, it was called Nike now, and the guy listened to him, and he's just listening to Phil talk about all the struggles and challenges and everything that they're going through, and he like pointed over to this bamboo tree, and he goes, you see that bamboo tree over there? He goes, in 1 year it'll be 1 foot taller. And Phil left there going, man, like, you know, like, what a good reminder about like life goes on, right? You know, things grow, the world grows, the earth grows, everything grows. And it got that whole line just stuck in my head, and I was like, man, that's so good. Because then I started thinking about you, because as you know, I've struggled. Like, I've told you my story before. Like, I've always wanted to do something great in this world, and like a lot, you know, not much different than a lot of other people. You know, before Amelia, that was really centered around, you know, trying to build a company or trying to do whatever I, you know, could do to use my creativity and ideas to bring something to life, you know, similar to like what Phil Knight was doing. And then after that, it totally shifted with a purpose toward what we're doing today. And even then, even with all of that drive and purpose and Amelia and everything that goes into it, like I still, you know, you've seen it, I don't know how many times, where I come with an idea, or I want to go push things faster than they should, or I'm like, hey, let's do X, Y, Z. And you help me to pump the brakes and say, it's okay, just keep focused on what really matters every single day. How many times do you think you've done this to me in our relationship over the past 2.5 years?
50s.
right.
It's almost like, you know, every few weeks coming with something different.
Exactly. And you're like, nope, stay the course. Like, you know, whatever's going on, just focus on what you can do. Remind yourself why you're doing this, which I've always do. I do that every morning with, you know, like, what's this is all about. And it's about Amelia. It's about finding balance, and it's about helping other people to find balance, right? And if the stuff that I come up with doesn't align to that, you're the one that always puts it back into alignment. And I'm like, oh, okay. All right. I just feel kind of purged, you know. But it reminds me, though, like always in a similar sentiment, all the things that when I want to push harder and I want to push faster, like, you know, it's me wanting to force my will onto nature, right? And I want to see stuff happen fast, because like this is important to me. Like Blue Ribbon Shoes was important to Phil, and you know, and like when something's important to you, you want to push and you want to push and you want to push. But that's not how nature works. A beaver must dam and everything. It's like, go with the flow, go with the river, don't run uphill. Like, you know, figure out what you can do that still aligns with nature, and then everything will work itself out over the course of time. In 1 year, that bamboo tree is going to grow, whether you like it or not. Things are going to change. They're going to adapt. They're going to be a little bit different. You have to be patient, and you have to keep focused on what you care about. And, you know, and slowly but surely over time, like things will fall into line if you're doing the right stuff and you're on the right path towards your purpose every single day. That was kind of what this one made me think about. I'd love to get your thoughts.
I think the first thing that comes to my mind is when you say a bamboo tree, 1 year will be a foot taller. I say, what kind of bamboo tree are you looking at?
Does it not grow that fast, or do they grow faster?
So it depends on the tree. Okay, if you're talking about a tree that has about like this wide of a body,
right?
It's about like 70 to 80 foot tall.
A year?
Right?
It grows that a year?
From a little shoot to a 70-foot tree in 1 year.
Holy shit!
It's called bamboo shoot for a reason.
Yeah.
Makes sense. That's why when you say bamboo, what kind of bamboo do you have? Some kind
Japanese? I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, probably Japanese dwarf bamboo.
Yeah.
But bamboo, it shoots. That's
right.
That's why it has very like the strength of the elongation, but it'll bend and it twists easy.
Right.
Right. But it won't rip. But that's the thing, is because all of the fiber of like vertical fibers. So it shoots and it grows really fast. So if a bamboo in its natural habitat, right, when you put them down, the baby bamboo, when you see the first year, like next year you see it's like all the way up.
Yeah, wow. Yeah.
So that I guess that's something that threw me off in the beginning.
Is there a Japanese bamboo?
There are
different?
so many different sort of bamboos. There are some that grow
Like
slow.
you're talking about?
Yeah, those trees. Yeah, those trees grows fast.
Oh yeah, yeah. Well, I don't know exactly.
I
What
mean,
bamboo
I'm
staring at.
hoping he's not pointing to that bamboo tree.
Right.
In a year, it will be 1 foot taller.
Well, that's true. Yeah, you get the point.
I get the point.
Yeah, fair enough.
You have to stay the course. I mean, you can't let let's say, you're walking down the street and the wind blow, right? You don't flow with the wind as a plastic bag or whatever, right? You have to stay the course, because if you say, hey, I'm going to walk down this corridor, this street, this walkway, you have to stay the course, because things are going to stop you from walking the course.
Right. Yeah.
And somebody can say, hey, I saw Chris and I want to talk to him for a second. And then once you finish talking to him, you got to continue move forward, right? You cannot let other people dictate who you are. And
It's like
this is go back.
You're like squirrel.
Yeah, the lesson here, like you said, the bamboo will be a foot taller in a year. It's the same thing. You will go on the path that it meant for you, versus, because then you look at any company, if you don't like the way you do things, right, it's going to take tremendous amount of willpower. And even if you have that much willpower, when you make it, it doesn't satisfy you. When it doesn't satisfy you, it's going to collapse and you're going to turn into some drug addict, whatever, just a crackhead for whatever reason, because you needed some sort of compensation for your
hard work, your burning of your energy.
You say, hey, I've suffered enough. Now that I deserve some indulgence. So you do all this shitty stuff, regardless, whatever it is. Like, you look at people like Michael, he has a lot of willpower. He wins, but then after that, it's like, my life's miserable. I don't like it, right? Or somebody who is becoming the CEO of some company, but that's not what they do, and they force themselves to do that. After they become the CEO of a company, they can't wait to sell and get the fuck out, just because I'm running away from. And so that's the thing, is the most precious resources in life, right? You know what that is? You know what I think it is?
Time.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You're wasting your precious resource, the most precious resources in your life, by doing things that you hate. So you have to make sure that even if the distraction that comes and confronts you, you got to move through it and say, well, this is who I am, and I have to walk in my own path, the path that I want to, the path that I know that I'll be satisfied on this path, versus, oh yeah, there's a squirrel, I look over it and I chase a squirrel, and eventually, you don't know where you are, you don't know who you are, and you get lost and you get depressed. And then when you basically, at a certain point, you're going to realize, I'm not where I'm supposed to be. And I'm completely, in a phase of I'm frantically trying to find myself, trying to get back to where I'm always late. You went the wrong way. You were on the wrong bus, right? When you're on the wrong bus, right, regardless how fast you go, right, you're farther away from where you want to be. And so that creates that realizations of, yeah, I screwed up. I'm completely.
You're so far away and you can't fix it, and you're like, shit, I can't. How do I turn around? There was one book that we've read that was an illustration of this example of totally blowing your life up, like just blowing your life up on purpose, like where you're just like, I'm just gonna blow it up. I'm gonna start over. The only book that I can remember somebody doing that in ever was Thirst, the book about the water guy, the one that was like a nightclub promoter and running that life. And then he was like, you know what? That's it. I'm gonna do he said to himself, what would the exact opposite of me do? And that was what he did. He joined the Mercy ship cruise and went away from all of his friends and family, and like just was like, this is what I'm going to do. And eventually that led him to his purpose and direction. But like, you have to be willing to blow up your whole life. And that takes a lot of I don't know. Do you know anybody in your life that you've ever seen just actively blow up their life and say like, nope, just going to start this over. I'm going in the wrong direction. Have you ever seen that before?
Not on top of my head, but I'm sure I have, because, there's a lot of people, especially in times of chaos, especially in the war. You see a lot of people, like different profession, they're doctors or lawyers, whatever, and they do completely different things when they come here, or they do, it's just different because they had to. With the guy with the thirst guy, right? He had to, because he was running away from the gang.
I mean, yes and no. He didn't have to. He chose to do that. Like he was But I guess you're right. Actually, no, that's fair.
This is when he sees the things that he
Right.
normally would not have seen. He wouldn't have the opportunity to see the problem of not having water in different places. If you think about it, if he stays as a nightclub promoter, where are these nightclubs? They're in the central cities. He's
Yeah, it's
not
in New
going
York.
in the middle of nowhere.
Right.
Why would he go to the middle of nowhere for no reason? Because there always
Yeah.
got to be a reason why he went there, right? Then when he went there, his perspective changed, and he said, "Well, the thing is, the life that I led, I've seen your friend Jordan,
Yeah. Yeah.
Jordan, right?
Mhm.
His life is changed different because of what he has seen."
Yeah, but those were forced atomic bomb events. I was trying to think of somebody that like forced their own atomic bomb event, just completely unprovoked.
It could be mini atomic bomb, because the thing
Right.
is, you think about, like, let's say for me, I don't think I have a harsh life either, but I've seen things. You do certain things, and at a certain time you realize that whatever you did wasn't what you wanted, and it wasn't adding to the bottom line. Just like you say, I'm on the wrong bus. Doesn't matter how fast I go, I'm farther away from where I'm supposed to be. And
Right.
so you have to make the switch to change it. And once you do that, you can change. And that change is essentially going to give you, because the thing is, you basically say, well, I wasted half my life, like doing all this crazy shit, right?
Right.
And you're gonna have to say, well, I don't want that. What do I want? So then you start changing. Because the thing is, you think about it, I started running a company like 5 years after I got from college, right? So I got a job for the first 4 years. And after that, I just quit. I just walked out. I walked out of my job, and I started to build my own company. And I run my company until I get to the point where I say, what the fuck am I doing this for?
Right.
You know what I mean? And then I start changing in my business, but it's not worth the headache. It's not worth the anxiety for me to talk to people I don't like to talk to.
Right. Path.
It wasn't exactly.
Yeah.
It wasn't my path. So I realized that it's not an atomic bomb per se, but it's still like a brick wall. I mean, you can call it midlife crisis, whatever you want to call it. It's still a fork in the road. At a certain time, you realize, okay, whatever you did thus far, is it something that you can continue to do?
Right.
And
because
if
the
the answer
bamboo
is
tree is
no,
growing, so it's up to you to decide whether or not you're on the right road. If you're on the right road, then just sit back and have patience and let.
but the
And let
thing is that
nature
what
happen and do your
what I'm
job.
trying to get at though is that patience. It is, to me, patience isn't force. If you force patience, that's the wrong place to put patience,
Yeah, I agree.
right? Because you think about it, you and I are doing this thing, right? Are we asking this to go fast? Well, world-renowned club and organizations, we spend we 2.5 years into this, right?
Right.
And I have no anxiety of whether I want to go faster or not, because I have this
we're going the
patience
pace you
to
need to
me.
go. Yeah.
The patience I here isn't forced.
No.
The
No,
patience you and I have for this growth, right, of our company isn't forced. I'm happy with the progress I've made for myself personally, right, and for both of us together. And so whether or not, because just like you're looking at Phil Knight, he wants his company to grow overnight. And reality is no company can grow overnight, because if they do, there's something wrong with it. It's going to collapse.
Right.
Not enough foundations to hold it when it gets heavy. But if you're looking at, like, for us, in the perspective of our organization itself, right, we are not anxious to make this a overnight success.
Not at all.
I mean, I don't know about you, but I don't feel like that. I feel so
No, actually, I don't. That's
cool and collective.
That's the exact opposite.
But the thing is, you have to understand that I don't feel any pressure at all. You don't feel any pressure at all. But you look back at what we have achieved so far. We know now what we need to do to make ourselves better. And you look at the number of books you have read, number of reflections you have written, it is tremendous. It is a huge effort that we've made thus far. And we have a quote unquote a quest or program that we actually done some good work in that area as well, that we can take and bring somebody in and guide them through the quest and give them
apply it in the world that I'm applying in right now.
Exactly. And you applying
like who knew where that was
meeting?
coming? Do you remember when I said your buddy and my friend Nick that owned his own little technology company, and we were like, oh, we'll just make you guys buy it, and and then we'll like force everybody to go through this stuff, and then we both realized, like, you can't do that with these. Like, this is not a world that you can ever force upon somebody. Like, they either want to explore this or they don't, and that's not up to us to decide. This is the exact thing of what I'm talking about when I have an idea that takes us off our natural path. You've always been there to tell me that's not
You're right.
we need to focus on. You're kind of on the right path, but you've kept me, I don't know.
Because the thing is, like, I have object to so many of your ideas, right? It's like you may I ask you this question: have I agreed with you with any ideas?
Clubany, YOML.
Yes,
Yeah.
but beyond that, I completely agree with you taking your team and put them through the quest, because to me, that's going downhill with the river, because you do nothing more than doing exactly what you do now.
Yeah.
But you have a team that actually does it and learning from you, right?
Well,
You're not doing
and they're
anything
getting
extra.
paid for it. That's
this is like the
model,
the
you know?
art
Yeah,
of
right.
going down here. This is what we're talking about.
Right.
So that's what I'm saying is I object to a lot of your suggestions and ideas, but I do agree to some of them. The YOML podcast, the mini, I don't know what you call this program, like the quest program, right?
We'll call it Clubany Light, you know.
Yeah, Club.
Right.
I completely agree with that, right?
It's a huge success. Yeah, it's a huge
success, right?
Yeah,
It's a success for that. And to me, like I say, it's not like I'm a guy who disagrees with everything. I say, well, as long as it goes down the river, right? Going down here, right? We do them. If we go to, hey, you have to paddle uphill or go sideways, and hey, you put in extra work that you don't have to. That's not what you're supposed to do. Stay the course. And, I think once you stay the course, I think it's easy to be patient. But when you are going against the grain or going uphill, then you yearn for the day when you push the little boulder up to the hill, so you don't have to suffer anymore. You have to eat the frog every morning anymore. That's why people look forward to the Friday, because the Friday give them a sense of relief from holding some kind of weight on the shoulder all week, right? That's the thing, is the perspective changes when they say, well, I get to do this. Let's say, the job is to play tennis. They say, well, I can't wait to come Monday because Friday, Saturday, Saturday and Sunday, all the tennis court shuts down. Or well, just like, for example, people who loves to play stocks, right? They hate the weekend because the market's not open. They hate holiday because the market's not open, right? Because and I'm guilty of some of that, because I like to look at the stocks and whatever. So for me, it's like Martin Luther King holiday. Well, why am I? So the thing is, I have a shorter day to trade. So when you like something, you don't look forward to the end of it. You don't look to the break. The break to you is like enduring and like hold off until the next opportunity to go and practice your moves, like tennis, for example. Like you practice your move. In trading, you practice your strategies and your signals and indicators or whatever. Stuff like that. It's one of those things that when you're into something and you stay the course, the patience becomes so much easier than to force something, and then patience becomes, because patience takes so much willpower at that point when you're trying to push this boulder up the hill. Can't wait until the day when you complete the task, so you don't have to carry the weight anymore. You're going to have to endure the pain, have to eat the frogs. And to me, it's always about looking from a 30,000 foot view at what are you trying to do, and kind of study the terrain first and look for ways to go downhill. Than just push things up just because you see a squirrel somewhere and say, hey, I have to push this up to the top. And a lot of times you don't know why you're pushing it up. Because if I say, hey, you need to push this up, you just say, okay, I'm pushing it up. You don't know why you did it. Because you never ask yourself, hey, I want this boulder up there because I need to build this or the what. You don't know. People say, hey, you need to push up. People say, hey, Chris, you need to make a lot of money. Hey, Chris, you got to go to school. Hey, Chris, you got to have, you got to buy a big house. Hey, Chris, you have to take your family vacation. Hey, Chris, you have to be the man and eat the fucking frog, right? So people tell you, hey, be a man. Hey, show some emotion. Hey, show your sensitive side. They're all like completely opposite of each other, right? At one point, you say, hey, be a man and suck it up. And the other point say, hey, show some emotion, some sensibility and whatever. It's like, what do you want me to be? They say, hey, go left and go right. Well, is it left or right? Just like two cops trying to say, hey, put your hands up. Put your hand down. Okay, which one you want me to do?
Right. Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, I think you're spot on. I mean, it just always makes me think about like before Amelia, I put a lot of energy and time and a lot of money and a lot of blood, sweat, and tears into pushing a boulder up a hill. And the thing that I looked forward to always was that breakthrough, right? Like, where you're like, oh, I can finally feel like we're making some traction. But at the same time, it was always just brutal. Like it was it was sort of fun, maybe in the beginning when I got to problem solve a lot and stuff like that. But then when it became like, problem solving for shit that I didn't really care about anymore.
It wasn't
like,
a
oh God,
problem.
what am I
The
doing?
thing is, it wasn't the thing. I think you're mistaking fun for a sense of relief. So whenever you found, let's say you're in pain, right? To find some relief in the pain, that gives you a sense of good feeling, good comfort, right? That's what I'm saying. When you found so there's multitude problems, and you found some solution to one of these problems, it gives you a sense of relief. So you think that feeling, the positive feeling, as fun, but it wasn't fun, right? Because it's still this whole boulder that you're still trying to hold on your shoulder, and you
I was
carry
working
hill,
multiple
and you
jobs,
can't wait to put them down.
It was
You're exhausted, right? You work during the day, you work at your day job, and then at night you got to do all this shit.
I was doing them at the same time. I was literally sneaking away in the middle of the day to go do the stuff, and then doing it at night as well. So like I was literally working two full time.
My point is, it's still pressure that you don't want, right?
Yeah.
But when you do things for yourself, because the thing is, for me, I guarantee you, like you and I think we're on the same page on this one. If you and I don't meet every day and we don't meet again, I'm gonna still be reading. I'm gonna still gonna exercise. I'm still gonna sleep right, and you're gonna do the same, regardless of whether or not I'm coming here and say, "Hey, Chris, how are you doing? How are you feeling? How's your weekend? Oh, I've done." You're not doing this to tell me to show off to anyone. You're gonna do this even if you're not meet with another person ever again about company, because we understand and we truly believe in it. I mean, from my perspective, anyway. I truly believe in this, and I do it regardless of what might happen in the future, because I know the importance of sleep. I know the importance of exercise. I know the importance of learning, right? Whether from reading or from Audible, from YouTube, whatever you want to learn. You and I have got to the point where this becomes a daily routine. It becomes a belief. It becomes a path for us. It's a path already, and
100%.
nothing is going to change and stop me from moving on my path. Because let's say I move to another country, I'm still gonna exercise. I'm still gonna learn. I'm still gonna, do things I'm doing today, right? I'm gonna sleep. I'm gonna say, well, I'm gonna stay up late and do things. To me, it's not worth it. I mean, if you give me extra money to do this thing, well, the thing is, well, how long do I have to do this? If I have to do this for long, I would say no, because what's the point of making the money if I don't have the good health to enjoy it?
You say that, by the way, because like that's part of the Club mission is we don't want to give people money with some string attached to say like you got to do XYZ and produce XYZ and live this amount of your life as living your values or whatever. It's literally just create and be yourself, and wherever comes what grow one foot further taller every single year, kind of thing. And eventually you're gonna have a really tall fucking tree, and we'll have a whole little forest of bamboo trees everywhere is the idea, right? Like and it's literally playing the long game. Like I don't think Jesus Christ, not comparing us to people that started the church, but I don't think anybody that started the Catholic Church was like, someday, like if we just push fast enough, we can get to 500,000 people around the world. One person, and you add another person, and it was the message, then another person, then same message, another person, and then all of a sudden people were like, I kind of want to go, I'm going to be moving to Africa this year. Oh, well, you want to go spread the message while you're there? Like, yeah, I'll do that. That's fine. It wasn't like you needed to have an investor or whatever to go push the message, like get out there. Here's your quotas. Just do what you feel natural and what you believe in, and others will find you and you'll find others. That's how it works, right? Anyway, sorry.
There's the reality of the world, and there's reality that you think it is the reality, right? Because I'm talking about like people only look at the news, the story, or the highlights, right? You only see the tip of the iceberg, but not the huge, humongous part beneath it.
Right.
To me, the reality is the whole iceberg, the tip plus the underneath it, right?
Of course.
Yeah. That's reality. That's the world reality. But the reality to us, in our mind, is just we only see the tip. Whatever we don't see doesn't exist. And that's always the case. But you look at everything, like when people say, hey, some underdog is beating, David versus Goliath, for example. Let's take that for example. Hey, little David beat up this professional soldier, and not only a regular one, but one of the best soldier of the best army, right? And Goliath was completely, taken by this little scrawny shepherd, right? To
Right.
me, there are millions of David have been like slaughtered for one David to become victorious. And that David is what we see, not the David that's emerged underneath. The
Oh, for sure.
reality,
Yeah.
the reality is that like you see all these long shot stories, right? Long shot, because for example, like we talking about this, I think we talked about this before, like trick shots, right? We see the trick shots in YouTube, in Facebook, or in TikTok or whatever, right? Where if somebody throws something ridiculously like, very, very like impressive, they have tried that like hundreds of times, but only kept and show and uploaded the video that is successful. All the
Right.
failure was completely deleted or thrown away. That's reality. But the reality we see, hey, trick shot, these guys are really good.
Right.
You think what? So the thing is, that's kind of patterns that's repeated over and over again. Just like we talked to you about the iceberg, right? We only know and consider in our formula what we see. Whatever is not seen, we completely omit it.
Right.
Right? We're talking about daycare with the viruses. We don't see the viruses. We don't see the struggles that these kids subject their bodies into. Because the thing is, you think about this, right? If you say that if your brains are growing and your brains are like doing a lot of repairing and whatever when you're sleeping, right? When you are sick, you can't sleep. And if
Yeah.
you
No.
can't
Yeah.
sleep, then how can you grow, right? So that's something we don't see. And so people say, well, if you get sick, you get stronger.
Right.
That's not the case.
Right.
But the reality is, like, if you say, well, if you don't have
strategic sickness, maybe, sure. like if you get sick once every 6 months or whatever, and you're like, oh, I got to build up an immunity to this particular thing or something like that. Sure.
It's the same way, regardless how you look at it. The point is,
Right.
you don't consider what you don't see.
Yeah.
And that is the reality in our head, but the world reality is completely different. And so that's why we have to really understand, right? What is the world reality we live in, and how is our course is going to relate to the reality of the world, so that we can stand and continue down the course that we are supposed to go, and versus something that comes to us and distract us from it and say, hey, this is squirrel, and I completely, veer off path, and then, I soon realize, what later or sooner or whatever, that hey, I'm completely not where I'm supposed to be, and I get this anxiety attack just because I don't know how to fix it, and I'm frantically trying to catch up on the things that I've lost, on the time that I've lost, on the resources I've lost, on the money I've lost, whatever. You're always chasing something, and you're always behind something, and it's always giving you this negative feeling of life is just a struggle.
Agreed. Well, I feel like that's a good place to pause, just because talking about life as a struggle, I have a long day ahead of me of taking care of a sick child. We can talk about that another night, but daycare sucks for anybody that is going through that. I feel your pain. I need to figure out how to get some sleep myself so I can maintain my strength to be able to battle through this stuff to stay on the right course. Awesome. Well, I think that's a good place to pause for the night. We'll have part 2 tomorrow, and looking forward to the conversation.
Sounds good. Good night, buddy.
All right. See you.